Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The double Olympic champion Bakhodir Jalolov made his return to the pro ranks with a decision win over Ukrainian Ihor Shevadzutskiy, and this was a fight which was on the Alim Hanala undercard in Kazakhstan. So a pretty one-sided effort and win, but there were signs that Jalolov has got a bit of work to do. And it was especially the second half of the fight. The stamina started to flag, but also it was pretty one-dimensional. It was the same round, carbon copy, round after round. So I think the calls that he's been making ahead of this fight, and most likely after that he's ready for the big names, he just needs to sort of pump the brakes a bit. But to the fight proper, so Shevadzutskiy, who is a durable guy, he's only been stopped by Martin Bakhodir before. As we know, Bakhodir heavy-handed. I figured that Jalolov would probably get to him at some point and hurt him, and he did. It was the third round, and he drops him with a 1-2. It was the left coming through behind the jab that buckled Shevadzutskiy's legs, and he went down hard. And after that, Jalolov tried to put it on him, but Shevadzutskiy able to get out of the round. And maybe it was the energy that was expended after the knockdown in round 3 that Jalolov, after that, from round 4 onward, was pretty quiet. He was pretty tame. The first couple of rounds he was building into the fight. You could see he was getting a little bit more aggressive. He was looking for shots, the uppercut, the left uppercut, looking to land his big left hand, and that obviously came in that third round. But from round 4 onwards, pretty quiet for the next few rounds. And also Ihor Shevadzutskiy, who was near on 300 pounds heading into this one, he was similarly looking a bit tired and a bit gassed. And if you saw the fight on ESPN Plus, I mean, you probably had a good laugh like I did with Ray Boom Boom Mancini and some of his commentary. You would have thought he had shares in Ihor Shevadzutskiy, waxing lyrical about what he was doing, but Shevadzutskiy was barely throwing, barely doing anything for much of the fight. Apart from one little flurry at the end of round 7, Shevadzutskiy was pressing forward and not really doing much. He was trying to put the pressure on Jalolov without throwing punches, and obviously this is why he was losing rounds. He wasn't throwing shots, but Jalolov was doing the same thing round after round after round, and he was banking them. And the scorecards 100-89, 97-93, and 97-92. You know, I've got no real trouble with the scorecards. I did think 3 rounds to Shevadzutskiy was a little bit favourable, considering he was hardly doing anything. But you can make a case in some of those latter rounds where Jalolov wasn't doing a whole lot, probably came down to 1 or 2 punches which swung around either way. But yeah, Jalolov, he gets the win, but you know, you have to ask the question, has he stayed too long in the amateurs? Because, you know, he just lacked the ability, seemingly, to adapt in there and try to do something a bit different. He was very head happy in terms of his punches. Ihor Shevadzutskiy and his ample near 300-pound body was there for the taking all night, but Jalolov really didn't look to work the body over at all. There was only a few sparing shots that came in throughout the fight. And I've been saying previously as well, Jalolov needs to develop a right hook, something that, you know, is not necessarily comparable, but a right hook that can be seen as a weapon, because obviously fighters know that he's always looking to land his left hand. And Shevadzutskiy, with the high guard up, he was covering up, he was able to, you know, effectively see what was coming a lot of the time. Not all of the time, obviously, and he was taking some shots, but Jalolov was just looking a bit one-dimensional. He needed to do something a bit different, but seemingly he couldn't. And he was obviously tiring through the second half of the fight, bearing in mind, you know, he's obviously been down in the amateurs, he hasn't been fighting 10 rounds, but that 10th and final round, there was a lot of holding. It wasn't a good look for Jalolov, and he was initiating a lot of it. The crowd started to boo, and they started to try and get on Ihor Shevadzutskiy's side. Shevadzutskiy, obviously, durable guy. This gave some good rounds for Jalolov, but I was hoping to see a little bit more. He's been out for some considerable time. This is his first fight since the Olympics at Paris 2024, I should say. And he was meant to turn up on a couple of fights previously, but for whatever reason, including illness, this is his first fight since the Olympics. First pro fight since 2023. He's been bouncing up and down like a yo-yo for the past, 5 or 6 years. And I just wonder, does he need a change of setup and training? Does he need to try get more into a pro gym environment? Because I think if he is trying to solely rely on what he's learned on the amateurs, and he isn't developing more of a pro style and able to adapt and show some ring IQ, be able to do a little bit something different. I mean, just having a right hook just in general is just going to be really good. He needs to be able to vary it to the body, especially against guys who are covering up. The body was there all night. And it's clear Jalolov is comfortable boxing and moving, and when he likes to plant his feet with, he's obviously got very long levers. He's 6'7". He had a huge height and reach advantage over this opponent. It's not always going to be the case. So just boxing just from the outside may not necessarily always prove to be the winning formula, especially if he can't mix it up and vary it. There was the odd uppercut coming in, but it was just too one-paced for the most part. It was the same round on repeat for most of this fight. So there is a lot to do, and obviously I think Ray Mancini needs to learn his name too. We were hearing Shavalov, Jovalov, Kovalov, and he seemed to be having shares in Shevadzutskiy in his career. I kind of found it bizarre. So it was a strange fight listening in terms of the commentary because it didn't always reflect what you were seeing in the ring. Sure, Shevadzutskiy was coming forward and pressing and trying to put pressure on, but he was doing nothing with it. But I think Jalolov should have done better in this one. Probably wasn't the statement that he was looking for. If he'd have gone on and stopped Shevadzutskiy in that third round or potentially in the fourth, maybe we wouldn't be having some of these conversations. But in some ways, being able to see him go rounds, see what the gas tank's like, and I think it obviously needs work, more road work, all that sort of stuff, and to see how he would react when things didn't go his way, there is some work to do. He's not ready for the big time. He does need some incremental steps, but they've got to start taking those steps, and potentially he needs to change up some of his training. Anyway, what did you make of the performance from Bakhodir Jalolov? 15-0. He beats Ihor Shevadzutskiy by decision. Drop a comment loud enough and hit like. Hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.